Hi, everyone. My name is Ariana Fowler, and today I'll be talking about how UNICEF is using blockchain technology. So to begin, oh, I apologize. If you're not familiar with UNICEF, we are the children's agency of the United Nations. So we have around 190 offices in countries all around the world. We have a budget of around 5 billion. And the way UNICEF works actually is that we have most of our staff in country. So that means in program countries. So you can think of underdeveloped, low income, middle income countries where we supply education services, vaccine services, and any kind of support for children, mothers, young people, etc. So I personally work on the innovation team, which is based in our New York headquarters. And so UNICEF Innovation identifies emerging technologies. And then we actually, as part of our mission, we invest in early stage solutions. And then we also scale proven solutions. So really what we do as an innovation team, we have about 40 people, is that we look at new and emerging technologies and we try to figure out how these technologies can be applied for children and young people around the world. And so I specifically work on the blockchain team. So before I worked at UNICEF, I worked at Consensus, which if you are in the blockchain space, you may be familiar with the company Consensus, which builds applications on top of Ethereum. And there I worked on the social impact team, and then I transitioned to UNICEF, so still working in the blockchain for social impact space. And so in terms of where UNICEF uses blockchain and crypto, we look at three different areas. So we focus on innovative financing models. So this could be cryptocurrencies, this could be digital finance, this could be tokenization, really any kind of iteration of innovative financing. The second area that we focus on is efficient transparency. So you can think of this in terms of smart contracts, in terms of supply chain, back office operations, any of the efficiencies that come with really kind of like the baseline use cases of blockchain technology. And then the third way that we use blockchain is to encourage what we consider open source digital public goods. And so we help start the Digital Public Goods Alliance, which you can think of a digital public good as any kind of open source technology that anyone around the world could access and activate and begin to create a solution would help children, young people, really anyone around the world develop. So in terms of how UNICEF has explored blockchain more tangibly, we've actually been exploring blockchain as an innovation team since 2015. So we first did a tiny prototype with the Bitcoin blockchain in 2015. And in 2016, we actually made our first investment into a blockchain company in South Africa. And then in 2017 and 2018, we began kind of laying the foundation for what the team would become. And in 2019, we actually hired our full-time staff, which I joined in 2018, late 2018, early 2019. And now we have a full-time staff of about 5. And so in terms of what our specific blockchain team does, we build prototypes using blockchain technology. We do a lot of education and training. So, blockchain 101s, like what is crypto, what is blockchain, what are wallets, what are smart contracts, etc. With our team, with different teams within UNICEF, different teams within the United Nations, really so that they become more familiar with the technology, so that they're more amenable to trying out the technology. So when we prototype, of course, we need buy-in. And so the first step is always education. And then we also do prototypes with our country offices. So like I mentioned, we have 190 offices around the world. And so if a country office, so for example, UNICEF Kazakhstan wanted to do a prototype using blockchain, they would talk to us and we would work with them sort of as technology advisors. So this timeline kind of gives you an overview of the ways in which we've explored blockchain. So as I mentioned, we have really 3 focus areas in terms of day-to-day applications of blockchain. So the first that I'll cover is our innovation fund and our crypto fund. And then a bit later, I'll talk about our internal prototypes, and then I'll get to our learning modules. So in terms of our venture fund, so Actually abstracting a level above blockchain, we as an innovation team invest in emerging technologies such as AI, data science, machine learning, drones, and blockchain. So we look at startups in what are considered UNICEF program countries. So again, countries around the world that are in emerging markets. And we actually invest in these startups. Our only stipulation is that they become open source because again, we believe in creating digital public goods, which means that ideally their solutions will be able to be scaled and replicated by people around the world. So we're the first really venture capital vehicle within the United Nations, which is really exciting. And so as I mentioned, in terms of what technology areas we focus on, machine learning, drones, AI, blockchain, AR, VR, 3D printing, quantum computing, et cetera. So basically, there's all these technologies that are out there. And as we know, there's a huge need. You can think of it as social impact or really just human impact, not even social impact, separate, that really could be impacted by these technologies. So our goal is to invest in startups in these countries where the need is greatest, and to actually scale them in the countries so that they can have the greatest impact. So we have made, and this is a bit outdated, I apologize, but 100 and I think 15 plus investments in startups across 57 countries, which is really exciting in terms of our overall innovation fund. And again, as I mentioned, the idea is to invest in startups and then to scale them to these digital public goods. So again, our only stipulation with the investment, so we don't take equity, but we do ask that all startups become open source. And in terms of how we support startups, of course, through product development, so actually scaling their platforms, doing the tech development, if that means hiring, if that means doing user testing, et cetera, we support them in that way. We also support them through strategic support. So we, as an innovation team, have developers, we have UX, UI designers, we have comms people, we have finance people. So if they need help in any of these areas, we support them as well. And then in programmatic areas. So of course, UNICEF has programs around the world focused on different, more functional areas. So again, WASH, which is water and sanitation and hygiene, health, early childhood development, education. So if, for example, a company wants to do a vaccine supply chain, which we've had a blockchain company do, they would work with our vaccine team. And what we did actually late in 2019 was really exciting. We launched the first to accept and hold cryptocurrency within the UN. So do we have the first venture fund? We also have the first crypto fund. So we're the first entity to really deal with cryptocurrency. And so our venture fund now distributes funds within fiat currency dollars, for example, but then we also distribute funds in Bitcoin and Ether, which is really exciting. And so this initial investment was supported by the Ethereum Foundation. And so in terms of how the crypto fund itself works, is that we get donations to the crypto fund and again, Bitcoin or Ether. And then the same process follows for the venture fund where we get donations and then we take that money and we choose startups that we wish to invest in. So for this first initial prototype, we invested in 3 startups. We've now scaled that to, I believe, 7 that have received cryptocurrency through UNICEF, which is a first for the entire United Nations, which is very exciting. And so, as I mentioned, we started with 3 blockchain startups, not even 7, 9, I apologize. And we're looking at investing in 5 more via Ether in just a couple of months. So we made 12 investments via the crypto fund, which is really exciting. So you can see on the right side, all the different technologies that we've invested in using crypto. So all of these companies have been invested in with fiat currency. So they're within our existing portfolio. And so for our initial prototype with distributing cryptocurrency, we decided to invest in companies that we've already worked with. However, we are currently in the review process for selecting new blockchain startups to be added to our blockchain portfolio. And there's an option for these startups actually to receive part of their investment in cryptocurrency, which is very exciting. So an example of a startup that we invest in is OS City. And so they are using blockchain to create digital certificates for universities, for local governments, really at all kind of levels of the what you can consider an information supply chain. And they're focused on Latin America. So that's the technology that we invested in within our initial blockchain portfolio. And then we decided to actually invest a second round in cryptocurrency. As a second touch point, we do internal prototypes, as I mentioned. And so not only do we invest in startups, but we actually, again, have a developer team where we want to experiment with the technology and figure out how UNICEF can benefit from blockchain and crypto. And so one of our main prototypes that we're actually developing is Juniper. So this is actually kind of like a first sneak peek. So you guys are kind of the first to learn about this product. But we are creating a suite of tools to be able to understand what cryptocurrency we hold, to allow donors and the general public to understand how we invest the cryptocurrency, and then actually to create a bit of a management tool and an accounting tool for our finance department and really any kind of large organization or even small organization to be able to process crypto donations in an easy and transparent way. So this came out of, again, our crypto fund. So, we decided we wanted to disperse cryptocurrency. And then we realized that we, as an organization, as UNICEF, did not have a lot of easy tools to use in terms of letting our finance team and our accounting team know how the money is moving, so let our donors know how the money is moving. And so our developer team basically started designing tools for our own use, but then we realized, any kind of organization, not only a UN agency, but any kind of charity or foundation or private sector company could use these tools. Of course, there's block explorers, but they're a bit complex to use. And so Juniper is a suite designed to easily understand digital assets. So that's one of our prototypes. We have several ongoing prototypes, but this is kind of like our main one that we're focused on right now. And lastly, learning. So of course, as I mentioned, it's really hard for a large organization to begin experimenting with blockchain if they don't know what blockchain is, if they don't know what cryptocurrency is. And so a lot of our work actually is kind of taking a step back and teaching our colleagues and other peers within the UN and beyond what blockchain technology is. And so our biggest learning platform that we created this year is the Atrium. So we created it with the World Food Program and the UNDP, which is the United Nations Development Program. But it's actually a blockchain-based learning platform for anyone within the UN to learn about blockchain, to share the projects that they're working on with regards to blockchain, and actually then have a forum to communicate about their blockchain interests. So many UN agencies operate in silos. They don't really communicate with one another. So we have lots of different blockchain pilots and experiments happening around the UN. There's over 100 UN agencies. UNICEF is just one. And so our team decided to create a tool where we could all come together and collaborate. And it's actually built on a blockchain. And so the more you participate, the more you earn blockchain-based badges. And our second iteration of the platform. The second iteration of the platform is going to include a platform for experimenting with smart contracts and bounties. And so really we're experimenting with learning by doing. So the Atrium is a way for people within the United Nations to learn about blockchain with really, hands-on. So in terms of how to learn more, there's some information. I know I kind of sped through, but I wanted to leave some time. I'm not sure if there's going to be a Q&A, but I wanted to leave some time if there's going to be a Q&A, but I'll pause my presentation for now and see if there's any engagement or feedback or any points that I should go back to.